Imagine stepping into a city that knows how you feel before you even realize it. A city whose streets glow warmer when you're anxious, whose traffic lights slow the world down when collective stress rises, whose buildings change tone and texture to comfort entire neighborhoods. In the future, urban design won't just be about roads, buildings, and electricity. It will be about a living, breathing emotional ecosystem tuned to the minds of millions. Today, we're going inside the emerging vision of emotion-adaptive AI cities, where architecture, psychology, and artificial intelligence fuse into something unlike anything humanity has ever lived inside. It begins with a simple observation: emotions are contagious. A single stressful event ripples through a crowd, changing how we drive, shop, walk, and talk. Multiply that by millions of micro-events, and a city becomes an emotional machine with no operator. Now imagine if the city actually had a brain. Imagine if the city could sense those emotional ripples, detecting stress, excitement, boredom, creativity, fear, and react in real time. That's the core of an emotion-adaptive city, a system that translates collective human emotion into actionable environmental changes. The foundation of this system is sensor architecture. Modern cities already track things like traffic flow, noise levels, air quality, and energy usage. But emotion-adaptive cities add a new layer of sensing called affective infrastructure. This includes everything from public AI cameras capable of reading micro-expressions, to biometric walkways that lightly sample heart rates and movement patterns, to wearable optional city networks that anonymously aggregate emotional signals. The goal isn't surveillance, it's sentiment analysis at scale. Cities won't care about individual emotions. They'll care about emotional trends: rising irritation in a subway system, unexpected calm in a shopping district, sudden excitement around an event. Once these sensors detect an emotional direction, the city's neural network interprets them through what's called an urban sentiment engine. The sentiment engine acts like the city's central nervous system. It pulls data from millions of emotional touchpoints and builds a real-time emotional weather map. Instead of predicting rain or sunshine, the sentiment engine predicts stress pockets, joy clusters, boredom zones, creativity hotspots, or potential conflict regions. This emotional weather map becomes the basis for city adaptation. The city essentially asks, what emotional state are my citizens currently in? What do they need? And how can I adjust the environment to help? Once the city understands emotional patterns, it activates its adaptive infrastructure. This is where the magic happens. Imagine walking through a downtown district after work. People are tired. The sentiment engine detects rising tension levels. So the buildings change, the lighting shifts into warmer hues, known to reduce cortisol. Street-level screens play calming ambient visuals. Holographic advertisements temporarily dim. Even the temperature adjusts a degree or two, minimizing physical discomfort. Traffic lights slow their cycles just slightly to avoid sudden braking and frustration. And subtle white noise generators reduce intrusive sound frequencies. You don't even notice these changes consciously. You just feel the city becoming gentler. In another example, imagine a neighborhood filled with creative energy. Maybe it's rush hour in a district populated by students, artists, and remote workers. The city senses elevated curiosity signals, micro-expressions associated with exploration, elevated dopamine markers, fractal movement patterns suggesting ideation. So instead of calming down, the city amplifies stimulation. Streetlights brighten and animate. Interactive displays allow spontaneous sketching, remixing, and idea sharing. Public walls shift into digital chalkboards. The atmosphere becomes electric with possibility, encouraging people to collaborate, think big, and innovate. The city pushes human creativity upwards simply by shaping the sensory world around it. Emotion-adaptive cities also transform how we approach public safety. Traditional surveillance is reactive. It waits for crimes or emergencies to occur and then responds. But an emotion-adaptive system can detect early emotional signs of conflict. When a crowd begins to show precursors to panic, rapid shifts in gaze patterns, flight-oriented micromovements, collective stress markers, the city can intervene. Holographic signage directs people calmly toward exits. Pathways subtly widen through dynamic architecture. Ventilation systems adjust airflow to reduce the claustrophobia response. The city speaks to humans through the environment. Fear becomes manageable, not explosive. Even natural disasters become emotionally optimized. When an earthquake hits, people aren't just physically endangered, they're emotionally destabilized. An emotion-adaptive city stabilizes lighting, suppresses unnecessary alarms, and adjusts environmental cues to promote calm evacuation. The city becomes a psychological stabilizer instead of a panic amplifier. But the most surprising part of emotion-adaptive design is how buildings themselves might physically shift. Imagine skyscrapers with dynamic surfaces, panels that change color, texture, or reflectivity to convey emotional signals to the public. Think of a building that glows blue when a neighborhood's mood is calm, turns amber when the city senses fatigue, or pulses neon colors during festivals when collective excitement spikes. Buildings become emotional broadcast stations, turning the entire skyline into a mood-responsive canvas. And then there's adaptive transportation. Picture this: a metro system that detects rising anxiety during rush hour. Instead of forcing people into crowded compartments, the system deploys additional autonomous pods. Train interiors shift to show calming visuals. Soundscapes adapt. Crowding algorithms redistribute foot traffic. Or imagine highways that widen virtually through dynamic lane projection if people are driving aggressively, preventing accidents by discouraging emotional chain reactions. The road becomes a therapist, not a battleground. Even food systems get involved. Restaurants and vending hubs inside the city connect to emotional data. When the city detects widespread exhaustion, food hubs promote warm, comforting meals and subtly discount them. When creativity spikes, restaurants offer more stimulating flavors linked to cognitive excitement. Food becomes part of emotional architecture. On the personal level, emotion-adaptive homes take things even further. Your apartment will know your emotional signature as naturally as it knows your Wi-Fi password. After a stressful commute, your home lights automatically soften, your smart walls display your preferred calming imagery, your climate adjusts to your ideal comfort zone, and your AI companion greets you with a tone and rhythm tailored to your emotional need. These micro-interventions turn homes into emotional support systems rather than just shelters. But the most advanced layer of emotion-adaptive cities involves the concept of collective emotional sculpting. This idea suggests that future cities will not just react to emotions, they will gradually guide them. If a city knows that people are generally happier when parks are active, or that creativity spikes when pedestrian areas include open stages, or that anxiety drops when holographic birds fly through the sky, the city may begin generating daily emotional patterns. Morning calm, afternoon creativity, evening social warmth, late night silence. Instead of chaotic emotional flow, cities become emotional experiences, carefully curated and constantly improved. There are, of course, concerns. Some worry about emotional manipulation. If a city can shape your mood, who controls the city? Governments? Corporations? I itself? Will emotional sculpting be transparent or hidden? Will people consent to living in cities that influence how they feel? And what happens when emotional data becomes a commodity? The line between emotional support and emotional control becomes very thin. So future cities will require ethical frameworks that prevent misuse. Transparent systems. Public control protocols. Emotional privacy rules. Opt-out options. Just because a city can read your mood doesn't mean it should store it. Another challenge is emotional diversity. Cities are full of people with wildly different personalities and emotional needs. How does a city adapt to conflicting emotional signals? What if a district has equal parts tension and excitement? The answer lies in dynamic zoning. Future cities may divide themselves into micro-emotional zones, calm zones, social zones, high-energy zones, reflection zones. People naturally gravitate to the zone that fits their internal emotional state. Over time, cities become emotional ecosystems where people move through moods like habitats. Economic systems also change. In an emotion-adaptive city, businesses thrive on emotional congruence. Calm districts host spas, libraries, and slow-living cafes. High-energy zones host gaming arenas, innovation labs, and nightlife. Emotional zoning essentially creates a new kind of urban economy built on mood alignment. Even tourism evolves. Visitors can choose to explore the emotional map of a city, experiencing different neighborhoods based on emotional themes. Traveling becomes a psychological adventure. But perhaps the most profound shift is how emotion-adaptive cities reshape humanity itself. Living in a city that constantly supports your emotional well-being may drastically reduce chronic stress, improve decision-making, enhance creativity, and lengthen lifespan. Traffic becomes less stressful. Workplaces sync with your emotional energy. Schools detect emotional fatigue and adjust learning environments. Hospitals tune their ambient conditions to reduce patient anxiety. Everything that once pushed against you suddenly begins working with you. And yet the greatest transformation might be the social one. When cities help people stay calm, inspired, or connected, the emotional baseline of society rises. People become kinder, more patient, more resilient. Conflicts diminish. Creativity expands. The very culture of a city evolves in a positive direction. It becomes a place that not only shelters humans, but uplifts them. In the end, emotion-adaptive AI cities represent a new category of civilization, not just smart, not just sustainable, but emotionally intelligent. Cities that feel like companions. Cities that respond, adapt, and care in ways we've never experienced. Imagine waking up one morning, stepping onto the street, and feeling the city gently lift your mood as if whispering, "I've got you." Imagine a world where urban life, for the first time in history, actually makes people emotionally healthier instead of stressed. We're standing at the earliest edge of this vision today. The sensors exist. The AI models exist. The psychological research exists. All that remains is the will to build a city that understands us, one that grows alongside us, learns from us, and evolves with us. A city that doesn't just shelter the human experience, but becomes a part of it. And if we get it right, future generations may look back at the chaotic, stressful cities of the past and wonder how we survived without emotional infrastructure. They'll see our time as the era before cities learned to care. Because once the first emotion-adaptive city is built, humanity will never want to go back. Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment to share your thoughts, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Your support helps this channel grow. Thank you for watching.